magic. It records automatically for me. And welcome to another fun-filled episode of Photoshop Party. We're going to be talking about taking an image that is so-so at best. In fact, I didn't think I liked this image at all until after I started playing with it just for fun. So we'll see what happens, and I'm open to suggestions on different things on this, so we could do it as a build together or just watch it as we do it and go from there. So I'm going to share my screen, go to Photoshop, which is not showing on there. Why is that? Okay, cancel that, go to Plan B, open Photoshop, go back here, share screen, Photoshop, share. Ay, made it harder than it had to be. And y'all can see my screen now. I've got Photoshop up and running with nothing there.
Yep.
Nothing up my sleeve.
Do
And
you
if
expect
everything...
us to believe that?
Matter of fact, yeah, I do. And Mel, I'm going to make you a co-host.
Okay. I'll watch the chat.
Please.
Room for you.
Yeah, if you could.
The incoming.
Where's co-host? Make co-host. There you is. You the
Okay.
co-host. Cool.
I will watch the incomers.
I get sidetracked all the time. Okay. This is kind of, sort of, I'm going to undo. That's the image that came out of the camera. I had a point and shoot camera and I was going by a flower field during the smoke. So the sky was all beautiful and hazy and smoky, close to sunset. And it just didn't, with the point and shoot camera, you can't get what you want to get. So here's what I got. And I go, meh. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd score this about 70, 71 maybe. And I hear people going, right.
What?
Okay, I would score this about a 65. Not worth a darn. So, being that I shoot everything in camera raw, including my point and shoot, I'm going to hit auto for auto exposure and all the adjustments. And you can see that it makes a bit of a difference. There is a B in the middle there.
Yeah.
So it brightens up the flower a little bit. I toned down the highlights, brought the shadows up. Texture, yeah, we could add some texture in there. Sharpen it just a little bit. A little clarity for fun. Dehaze doesn't do a whole lot, but I'm going to bring a little bit in just for fun. Saturation is -5 in the auto. I'm going to bring it up to 0. Vibrance is at 15. And I'm going to leave it at 10. Minimize that one. Curve, I'm not going to mess with. I'm going to leave it like it is. Detail, Photoshop or Adobe Camera Raw always puts it at 40 to start with. Yeah, I don't care. I'll add a mask of, there we go. Does everybody know the trick when you're in Camera Raw? If you hold the Option key down and slide the mask slider, you can see what's masking and what's not masking. It brings up in black and white so you can see it a whole lot better. Color mixer, I'm not going to do any adjustment in saturation or luminance or any of that stuff right now. Split toning, not going to mess with. Optics, remove chromatic aberration. That's one of my options all the time. It's in my presets. Where's chromatic lens corrections, which is remove chromatic aberrations. It's got to go. And Art Renault is trying to get in. He's having troubles. And Geometry I don't need to mess with, effects or any of that I don't need to mess with. However, I have a bee in the middle of my image and I want him to stand out a little bit. So I'm going to take my adjustment brush. You can hit the letter K or just click on the adjustment brush. And one of the things you can do is go to mask options and just mask the bee. And let's get the wing in there as well. He doesn't have a wing on this side. It's going backwards. So let that go there. So the bee is semi-masked. And I'm using my mouse. I'm not using a Wacom tablet right now. I figure the mouse is good enough and it's easier to work with while I'm playing. Unclick the mask, but it's still masked. You can still just do the bee. So I'm going to bring the exposure up at about 25%. Highlights a little bit, bring the shadows up a little so that the bee stands out. If you do texture too much, what's going to happen is he's going to start to pixelate a little bit. So we'll go back to my zoom out. And so you can see we've got the bee standing out pretty dang good by himself. Everything else looks fairly good. Hang on one second, let me. Send art a renewal. Resend confirmation. It's the last time I'm going to help you there, dude. Okay. From this point, I think we're pretty dang good. I'm not going to mess with the other flowers going around because I'm going to get rid of them.
Oh, okay.
So now I have a flower and a bee. Yippee. I've got some garbage down here that I'm going to have to clean up. So looking at the first thing I want to mess with while I'm here, and I'm thinking I'm going to take some petals and cover up the images or the things that need to be fixed. But before I do, let's go ahead and take this guy and put him on his own layer. So I can do select subject, and that's not going to work, I can tell you from experience, because there's too many subjects there. And you can see it selected all kinds of other stuff down in here. If I do quick selection tool, Command D to deselect, quick selection tool, and just do kind of sort of petal by petal, make it really small for the edge of that one. Actually, that did a pretty decent job by itself. I could live with that. So I'm going to go into select and mask, which is up in the upper toolbar when you're in any of the selection tools. Select and mask. And at this point, I want to get rid of the white that's coming out of the flower there. So I'm going to go to the Refine Edge brush, which is R, drag it in between, and it did a decent job there. Refine Edge brush around the edge where all the white's showing. Make it a little smaller, do the same thing here. Basically what I'm trying to do is just get rid of all the white that's showing through so it doesn't show through on the final product. And it doesn't take too long to do a selection. Hopefully I'll have this done shortly so you don't have to sit here and watch me do a selection the whole time.
Mm.
And I'm going to change it to marching ants so we can see what we got. Back to overlay, and I'm going to get rid of this little green monster right here. Making my brush a little bit bigger, using the right bracket key. And sometimes you have to go over it a couple times for it to actually do the selection for you. And at this point, I'm going to say that's fine. I'm happy with it. I'm not going to mess with any of the selections. I keep my feather down at 0 because I don't care about feathering when I do this. And then shift edge. If I wanted to bring the selection in a little bit, I could shift the edge to a minus and the selection would come inside the leaf just a little bit. I don't need that, so I'm just going to keep it at 0. If I decide that I inverted it or I did the selection backwards, all I have to do is hit the invert, and now you can see it's inverted. The outside is selected, not the inside. So there we go. Always output new layer with layer mask. New layer with layer mask. The reason I do that is so I can make adjustments later on if I see something I missed while I was doing this. Click OK. And as you can see, I missed a little bit right there with that green spot that was there. But my plan later on, yeah, I'm going to take it out anyway. So I'll go to B for brush, and I'm going to paint with black, and it's at 20% instead of 100%. So I hit 0 to bring it to 100%. Anybody see anything else we need to take out of there? I think we're pretty good there. We have a decent selection. Cool. It worked. It worked. Okay. If I drag my mask to the trash, it says, do you want to delete, cancel, or apply? I will apply. And what that does is the mask will now take over and everything is gone that I don't want. Go back to the quick selection tool, get a leaf here, Command J to bring it up on its own layer, Command T, which is free transform. And what I'm going to do is flip it around backwards and fix leaf there. And I'm going to move my center marker point right here. I'm going to move it to the corner where it's connected to the dark part of the flower and just rotate it so it goes over the top there. And hit OK. And I might move it up just a little bit, so I'll nudge it up and back into the flower. And then let's take this flower here, same thing, quick selection tool. Okay, I'll take that. I'll take more than I want. Get rid of the top one. And Command J to bring it up on its own. Okay. When I hit Command J, so I could not make a new layer from the selection because the selection area is empty. The reason why it's empty is I'm on layer 1 right now. Layer 1 has nothing but a little petal sticking off to the side. So if I click on the background layer and say Command J, it now brought it up on its own layer. So we'll Command T to free transform, drag it down over here, move my little spot there, bring it around, and it slides underneath the other flower.
Wow, cool.
Mike, we have a question in the chat that says about lighting on the moved pedal. Isn't it different because the light is hitting it above the replacement section? Should it be from a different angle?
When you replace the pedal, does it look out of place? If you didn't know that we had moved it, does it look out of place? So that would be, that's your telltale sign. If there was shadows or strong direction of light, yeah, you need to work on that. In this particular case, I think it's pretty flatly lit, so we're okay. If that answers the question. Feel free to speak up too. You don't have to send all the questions through the chat. I'm willing to take you on one-on-one, so. Okay. Sorry, I'm just being one of those days today.
You want to restate that, Mike?
He asked for it.
It is on recording.
It's about 20 to 1. You could be in trouble.
Yeah, I'm always in trouble. Okay, I'm going to redo. Whoa, it's selecting a lot on this one. I may have to do it the hard way. Oh, I got away with that one pretty good. And what I'm doing is cleaning up the sides using the Option or Alt key while I'm doing the quick selection, which takes down some of the selection there. And I have a selection there, so this Command J to bring it up on a layer. This time I was on the background copy, so I had something to put in there. Command T to transform it. And we're going to put it right about there. And we're going to rotate on that axis. And you can see what I did basically just filled in that dead spot. So we have a full leaf going on there. Okay. So far, so good. We're getting there. And I'm going to take all these layers, highlight them all. I can either do a group and put them all into one group, or if I hit Command G, that puts them in the group, or if I hit Command E, what that does basically is flattens them all into one called the background copy, or layer one. So everything's been flattened down into one. At this point,
you can't adjust it anymore, correct?
I cannot adjust it anymore. Or I can cut leaves out and replace them again. Right. And let me go back one step real quick. I'm seeing something. There it is. Okay. I don't know if you can really see it on your screens.
Where's different?
There's this line going through here.
Ooh.
And what that is from is when I copied that, it took part of a selection that I didn't see it did. So this is the layer that it's on, layer 3. So I'm going to go to Layer Mask, B for brush, and I'm going to paint that out. That's something that I didn't see before until I flattened it and go, oh, that's not good. Now if I flatten, Command E, and that saves that layer up there, and background copy is still there. I am going to make a copy of this layer, layer 1. There's 2 ways to do it. Number 1, drag it down onto the plus sign right here, and it's layer 1 copy. That takes too long. I'm going to hit Command Z to undo, and it's not undoing. So I'll go back in history, do it. There we go. The fastest way is just go Command J. Boom. We have a copy of the layer now. I'm going to go Filter, Stylize, Oil Paint.
Ooh.
And originally when I first did this, my settings were at like 4.0 across the board. Stylization, cleanliness, scale, and bristle. I said, nah, bump it. Drag it to the right, to the right, to the right, to the right. And yeah, the B gets kind of soft there too, but that's okay. I'm going to click OK. And we'll show you the difference between the layers. It looks like a painting now, except I don't want the B that much painted. So I'm going to add a layer mask and go to B for brush. And I'm probably going to paint it 20% to paint him back a little bit of detail. So I did like 3 strokes, which would be about 35–40% by the time you really calculate it out scientifically. And we have a sunflower, a bee, and it's not quite finished. I need like a stem coming out of the bottom down here. So let's add, go ahead, I'm listening.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to add a new layer.
Okay.
Underneath everything. And the trick to that is holding the command or control key when you click on the new layer icon. Hold the command or control key and it pops the layer down below. So let's get a paintbrush, which we already have. I'm going to hold the Option or Alt key, which will allow me to get my color picker out. I'm all into shortcuts. I want shortcuts. And so I selected the green on the tip of the flower here, and I'm going to make a stem. What I'm going to do is change my brush from a soft edge brush to a hard edge brush. So I right click, drag my hardness slider over to 100%, and then click out of it and find my cursor again. And let's go ahead and I am not one to freehand very well. So I am not an artist.
At you.
Yes, you are, but that's okay. Everybody should laugh at me.
Come on, Mike, never.
I am not like Sharon Shepard. She's an artist. Sandra Pierce is an artist. They actually can brush things and make it look like you want it to. I'm going to actually darken this down a little bit to add some detail to make it like a shadow. So I darken the green down. I'm going to change my opacity from 100% down to, let's go with 20 to start with. And this time I'm going to go to a soft edge brush so you get some shadowing or shading in there.
Mm-hmm.
And that is not doing very much at all. So let's change to multiply. And I'm going to take it down to 10% because multiply goes on really strong. So when you do multiply in the same color, you can see that's a 10% right there, which is half the strength, and it's going on very nicely. I'm going to put a little on this side just for fun, just to, there we go.
Mike, we have another question that says, can you get more detail in the center of the flower by lightening it?
Let's find out. Okay, I'm going to add a new layer so we can lighten it, but I'm going to do a little trick here. I'm going to hold the Option or Alt key when I click on Create a New Layer, and that brings up the layer dialog box, and we're going to call this Lighten. I'm going to change the mode from normal to opacity. I'm sorry, to overlay. Thank you. And I'm going to fill with 50% gray. So it's lighten, overlay, fill with 50% gray. And that box will only come up when you do overlay or one of the overlay patterns there. Click OK. And I'm going to paint with white. So I'll hit X to bring up white because white was on the bottom. And I'm going to paint with normal at 10% with white.
Brush there?
That painterly effect is so pretty.
I have to thank Sandra Pierce for that. She did that, and there's more I can do to it to enhance it a little bit, but we're going to be short of time, and she did a whole week on that. So let's go ahead and
That oil paint wasn't in Photoshop for a long time, and then they brought it back.
yeah, they had it and they brought it back, and there was a lot of problems with it. So if we lighten, whoa, okay. Let's zoom in then so that doesn't distract us. You can get a little bit of detail in there. So you can add a little bit of detail by lightening it up. You could probably use dodge and burn tool as well. Let me get rid of that layer.
Oh, sorry.
Let's see if we can do dodge and burn. O is the keyboard shortcut. This is dodge. We'll dodge the highlights to bring them up a little bit.
Could you use Camera Raw by isolating and just working on that section?
Actually, I probably could. There's all kinds of ways to do it. I mean, like, you know, in Photoshop, there's how many different ways?
I've been a Lightroom person for a long time, so I always think that way first.
Yeah, and I've been purely Photoshop, so yeah, that dodging and burning is not doing anything there, so let's get rid of that layer. Okay. Okay.
Michael, the answer to your question, how many ways? Infinity plus one.
Well, today, let's see, how many people we got? 23 in here. So there's 23 different ways to do it today. Actually 24, because I can use 2 different ways if I want to. Okay, so I've got a flower. Yeah, it's okay. Nothing fantastic. Let's go ahead and make sure I'm on the right layer to pull this off. Let's go down to layer, background layer. And I have a background called Burnished that I got from Karen Nakamura, a texture. I'm going to right click on it, go down to Place in Photoshop. Place in Photoshop. Dun, 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 dun. Command T. And if you stretch it out of proportion, like if I go up too far or down too far, it's okay because it's a texture or a background. You don't have to worry about proportions on this. Click OK. And that's not bad. Let me turn these off for a second. You know, I changed my mind. I'm going to leave them on. Let's go to Filter, Nick Collection, and go to Color Effects 4. I turned off my Nick filters in the Photoshop right now because they always take up too much room. And let's go to Darken, Lighten, Center, which it already is. And border luminosity, I'm going to take down just a hair. Center size just a little bit. Click OK. And it did it just to that layer, and I don't want that. So smart filters, go bye-bye. Let's go up to the top and try that. Do a Command F and just rerun the filter over again.
When you use a filter like that in the background that you got from someone else, if you entered it in competition, would it have to go in a special art class or what?
If you're using like a dark, or you're talking about the filter or the texture?
Actually, both. In other words, if you entered this in competition, would you have to make it so that you'd show each one of the elements that you used, or would this be okay to be in a general?
I don't know the answer to that one, Sandra. I would think that you should be able to enter it. Well, with the texture, I'm not sure. With the filters, no problem.
Okay.
The filter, I do color effects for the dark and light and center all the time on all my images. So, and then I'm going to
Since you
add.
didn't create the texture, it might be Creative Open, but I'm not positive.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. You'd have to ask the experts in that area, which I am not. And we're going to do one more thing. I have a overlay that I'm going to put over the top of it. So I'm going to place in Photoshop. I'm going to rotate, Command T. Instead of dragging it around, I am going to click on Set Rotation. And I went to 90 degrees, which turned it sideways for me. And then hold the Option key, which takes it outward.
Pick what outward?
Yeah, what is that?
I'm
Okay,
sorry, I missed that.
I'll do that again. Okay, I'm going to Command T for free transform. Up at the top, we put Set Rotation 90 degrees. I'm going to hold the Option key, and what it does, it takes, when I pull out from the corners, it's going to pull everything out equally all the way around. So hold Option or Alt, and you can see everything goes out to the side equally. Versus if
So what is that? Where did you get that?
Is that golden overlay? Is that another texture?
It's an overlay. What I'm transforming right now.
Yeah, where did you get that?
I got that out of my bridge.
Is it yours?
Think
is it something
that
you have photographed?
I think that's from Karen Nakamura as well.
Oh, okay, it's a particular. Okay.
So put it back in there again.
Question, when you go Control T, can't you just click right and it gives you the options? You don't have to put a number up in that transform move?
Oh, you can, if you don't want to do the number up there, you can just go like this till you get to 90.
No, no. If you go Control T and then you hit the right
click
click
and rotate 90.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you can do that.
Put numbers in.
Yeah, you can do it that way as well. It's just, I chose to do it that way. I don't know.
There's a million ways of everything.
23 ways to do it.
Yep.
I didn't even think about doing it that way, but yeah, duh. Thank you. And then Option to bring it outward. Click OK. And to me, it's got a little bit too much texture on the flower.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to bring the opacity down on that. And then probably put a mask on. Make sure my brush is at 0% hardness, so it's a soft edge brush. And B for brush would help instead of being in the wrong tool. And let's try it 10%, just kind of brush it out a little bit. And again, I want my B to stand out a little bit more, so I'm gonna.
Why don't you just drag it underneath the flower?
I wanted the flower to have some texture on it from the overlay as well.
Okay.
And if I did that, I could, that would bring the flower out more. But I was just putting, yeah, okay.
I like it the other way.
Okay, you guys win. So yeah, I told you this is a team project. debating if I want to do anything else to it or not. With the texture above layer 2, which is my stem, I think that adds a little bit of texture to make it look more like a stem. Let's go back to multiply one more time. And I'm going to make the brush at 5% opacity now and just add just a touch in there. There we go.
That little touch of green on that one petal is a little bothersome.
You don't like that, huh? Fine. You're talking about this one right here? I'm glad you brought that up.
Yes.
Okay, let's fix that. I'm gonna do the claw to bring everything up on one layer. So Shift, Option, Command, or Shift, Alt, Control, E, and it brings everything up on one layer. I'm gonna change brushes now, and I'm going to go to my Wacom tablet finally, because with this brush, it's a mixer brush. And with the mixer brush, I'm going to just drag over
Wow, that's
the
great.
green. I'm glad you brought that up, because that kind of brought in another tool for us.
Yay, good. Okay.
And it's
And,
probably too big a brush, so it's going to soften it there.
the leaf right above, the petal right above that is darker than the other petals because you'd moved it from the other side. So would you select that and then maybe do an adjustment on it to make it?
I could. Whoops. What did I just do?
Command Z. What'd you do?
Oopsies.
Thank you.
Okay, so you don't like that one up there
No,
as it is.
it looks
Okay,
moved over.
let's go ahead and we're going to add a curves adjustment, and I'm going to lighten it up a little bit. And with the layer mask, I'm going to invert it to black. So I'm going to hit Command I to invert the layer mask to black, which made everything go back to where it was. I'm going to use my brush in normal mode. Let's go with about 32%. And I'm going to paint with white to paint it back in. So right now it's set to black and white. Black is my foreground color. Instead of clicking on that little arrow there, I just hit X, change the colors out. Let me make sure I've got a soft edge brush. I do. Hardness 0, good. And so we're just painting back the curve we put on there.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, nice job.
So you can see from there to there.
That would have addressed my question about the lighting on the petal that you too. You could change it that way as well.
Right. And I'm not worried right now. I'm not worried about the edges. I'll have to go in and clean those up, but I don't think you guys want to see me sit here for an hour cleaning up edges. But that I do need to clean up. So let's go to our magic brush again. And we just kind of drag the green color up there, make it smaller. And that kind of gets rid of the garbage that was there. And if it gets too tight, like right up there, I'll change from the mixer brush to the smudge tool. And the smudge tool is a little bit finer edged, so you can get in there nice and tight.
Does the smudge tool hold the color, or are you just pushing the color?
You're pushing the color with, like you do the mixer brush. I'm gonna.
Yeah, but with the mixer brush, you can add color to it as well.
You can add color to it. I'm not sure about the smudge tool if you can. I'm sure you probably can, but this maybe not because it's just a smudge.
Yeah.
Or smudging.
This question.
So that made a little bit of a difference there, pulling that in. And last but not least, being that I am an artiste,
You must sign it.
Collins logo. Let's go with a dark orange in here. Ladies and gentlemen, you now have a flower.
Ooh.
Ooh, ah, ooh, ah. And
Nice.
just to show you where we came from, well, let's do this. Let's take a snapshot. Snapshot, come on. Okay, I got a snapshot. Here's the before. Here's the after.
Sweet.
Very nice.
One more time. Wow. Okay.
I am not an artist, never claimed to be, but taking classes like Sandra Pierce, Richard Sturdivant's, it's helped me a whole lot to see things in a different way. When I first saw this image, I said, whatever. It was, in fact, that's even after finishing doing camera raw with it to start it. The original was pretty bad. So
Michael, you said you aren't going to show us how you're going to get rid of all the little white border around the flower, but can you tell us how you're going to do that?
I will probably use the mixer brush and drag the orange over on top of it.
Okay.
All
right.
Let's go ahead and mixer brush it real quick. And I have keyboard shortcut for my mixer brush. Instead of being in the B's, it's actually in its own section under A. So I renamed it. And just go in and drag the colors around a little bit just to darken it down. And if you wanted to, you could mask it, select and mask, and then contract the edges as well. So you could do it that way. Several different ways to do it, just like everything in Photoshop.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you guys for being here. Any other questions? Please make them easy if you do have a question.
Michael, I don't have a question, but in regard to the question earlier about the background, from PPA, Creative Open. This category consists of images that have additional photographic elements not created by the maker. All other PO rules apply, with the exception that the entrant may choose to use photographic elements in an image that were not created of the maker. These photographic elements must be shown in a guide image. The purpose of this category is to allow makers to enter everyday images that may contain digital backgrounds or other photographic elements not created by the element or by the entrant.
Okay, so that answers that one. So if you use a background or an overlay like that, you should probably, that you didn't make, you should be showing it in a separate guide image. So.
Hey, Michael, it's Gary. I got a different question. It's a dumb question. I went to a light painting workshop last weekend, and the big flashlight, we're kind of painting different parts of the rock background. And so I have like 5 or 6 different shots, each with the rock painted differently. So I went into Photoshop and I put a mask on each of the 6 different layers. And then I wanted to go in and just kind of, take white paint and, highlight that part of the rock that got painted. But when I put the black mask on the layer, I lose the image completely. So what do I need to do when I put a black mask so I can still see the image so I know where to apply white paint?
I would either use a white mask and then paint with black to paint out the area that you want to paint out. Or you could also do similar to a focus stack. Let me show real quick. Go into Photoshop again. It won't work on this image. However, you go to Edit, Auto Align Layers. So you have all your layers lined up. Once that's done, then you go to Auto Blend Layers and it will blend them for you. So you can do that. I did that with an image recently that I wanted to compress the light a little bit. So I actually had Photoshop do it for me.
What were you photographing?
I'm trying to remember. That was last
No,
week, okay?
I meant whoever asked the question. Was that
we're
Gary?
He was doing rocks.
We were doing some light painting in Joshua Tree. So we had a model and we had a big flashlight. We were moving around. We were like 10-second exposures. But I needed to light paint the background to basically put in behind the model and behind the light painting.
Yeah, I just wondered because I was doing a bunch of that this past week too with the Milky Way.
So I have a question for you, Michael.
Okay.
Last night in the Gold Coast competition, we had my Milky Way photo with that dark banding across.
Uh-huh.
I'm wondering if doing the curves like you did with painting that petal would be a good way to take that dark banding out.
That would help. I would feather it a whole bunch. I'd do a selection, feather it, and then add the curves and paint it back that way. That's one way to do it.
Yeah, Jeannie, I actually had a screen capture and was playing with it. And I didn't take it to curves. I was just doing it at first just with darkening it and increasing the contrast. And it made a significant difference. And I would show you, but I accidentally closed Photoshop and said, don't save. So,
Oh, man.
I'm like, dang it.
Dang. So you did what again? You darkened?
Well, I was just playing with adding a layer for contrast and brightness. And so I darkened down a little and increased the contrast because the area on the above and below the band, I was treating that area, not the band itself, because it seems like it's lighter and not as contrasty. So I was trying to make the area around the band match it more.
Oh, okay.
But I think the curves might actually work better, or maybe a little bit of both. I don't know.
Maybe try it both ways. I went in and I was doing a selection and I was moving it around. I came up with something and I thought, you know, I'm changing all the stars around and stuff and it's not good. But I did come up with something that just was quick and I don't know if
unless you're an astronomer, nobody's going to know you moved the stars around, and you know, I know there's some
Exactly.
authenticity.
Can I share my screen for a moment? If can we share this?
Maybe.
That'd be okay.
It's always tough to mess with what's authentic. I know that one of my first images that merited was a panoramic down in Santa Cruz, and I was told afterwards I should have flipped it, but I'm like, but that's not where the lighthouse was. You know, it's like
That's beautiful. Where were you?
Huasna. Was it Cheryl? Where were we? I think we were out in Huasna. No, we were.
No, we were
Los
Olivos.
Yeah, San Ynez Valley.
Beautiful.
I'll say this the banding does not look as bad here as it did with the
See,
share
what are you
yesterday.
talking about when you say banding, Kimberly?
Okay, this is
There.
the one. This is the one I entered right here, and this banding down here.
Yeah. Okay.
So I started fooling with it last night, and I came up with this.
I like that. It looks almost like foggy over there in the pink area.
Because somebody told me, I don't know if it was you, who told me to increase the pink toward, it was
It was Sharon. Yeah.
the pink towards the middle. So I started doing that. And I didn't want to make it too unnatural looking. I wasn't quite sure how best to handle that. But I think I've got rid of most of the banding. But I was, you know, the stars are all moving around, and then I had to be careful that I didn't make them look all funny. So yeah, so that's where we started, was right here.
And I would not have a problem taking out that planet right there.
Oh, I like the planet. I thought that was real cool.
It's Jupiter. You can't take out Jupiter.
Some people get distracted by a very bright Jupiter.
So I did, yeah, I did, on this one, I have toned Jupiter down a little bit.
Okay, that you can tell.
Yeah.
There, yeah,
I like that.
much better.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
They're gorgeous.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Well, I appreciated the comments last night. That was really helpful to let me know what would improve it.
How long of an exposure was that?
Oh, I don't recall.
Time lapse?
I can look it up.
10 seconds, maybe?
It was, yeah, it was pretty short because I had a fast lens, but maybe 6 seconds, I'm guessing, but I'll have to find my raw file to tell you.
All right.
Well, cool.
It didn't have much star movement, so I think it was pretty short.